Okay, now we're going to talk about dealing with expressives and their negotiating style and how to sell to expressives. And you'll find that selling to expressives is a little bit easier than selling to dominators. However, remember that if you are a dominator, a detailer, or a relator, that you're going to have to adjust your style as you sell to the expressive. And just as if the expressive was to tell too many stories to the dominator, if you're a detailer or you're a dominator and you completely just go to the bottom line, or you're only dealing with the facts and figures and the details and the features of the product, and you're not engaging your expressive personality in a relationship of words and talkative, type of communication, your expressive may get the price and get the features, but they may say, well, I really don't like that person. I'm not going to buy from them. I'm going to buy from someone that I know, like, and trust. Again, in dealing with expressives, if you're an expressive, it's easy to sell to an expressive. But if you're one of the other three personalities, you have to take these characteristics into account, and you have to understand the expressive for who they are, and you have to adjust your style based on the expressive personality. Expressives, their negotiating style is win-win. The good news about them is they like to win and they like you to win. Unlike the dominator who wants to beat you down for the best price, the best terms, they want to make you feel low, and you can still get the sale, but they'll beat you up quite a bit. So you don't have to get your ego out of the way with expressives. You do have to be careful, however, because they will tend to buy too easily, and people that buy too quickly and too easily will also cancel very quickly and very easily. So remember, the biggest problem with selling to an expressive is they'll buy quickly, but they'll cancel quickly. So you want to make sure that your sale is very solid and that your relationship is very solid, or else they'll buy because they like you, and then they'll cancel within the 3 days if there's a 3-day right of rescission. Expressives love to buy stuff. I mean, expressives are the ones that see, they see Ginsu knives and they see the Snuggie on TV and the clapper, and they've got all that stuff in the attic. I do. I buy all that stuff. I love to buy stuff. It's exciting to buy stuff. And one of the ways that expressives actually cement the deal with you, so to speak, if they like you, the way to consummate the relationship is to actually buy your product or service, or join or come in with you in your opportunity. So expressives, they love to win, and they want you to win as well. So that's the good part about selling to expressives. Your negotiating tactics, you want to tell expressives of third-party stories and endorsements. They love stories. Expressives, remember, they want to be popular and have fun while they do it. Always remember, when you're dealing with a certain personality, you want to remember, okay, so I've identified this person. I'm sitting there across from this MJ Durkin. He's very talkative. He's telling me a story about his kids and the picnic over the weekend. He's obviously an expressive. What does he want most? He wants to be popular and have fun while he does it. Now, what that means is that expressives love to hear about other people that own your product or service, because they're joiners. They want to be popular. And so if you're telling them that everybody in your town is getting involved in this hot opportunity and they're coming on board, the expressive is going to say, hey, what am I missing? I want to be popular. I want to do it. I want to jump in on this. If everybody else is doing it, expressives love to jump in on something that other people are doing. So you want to tell third-party stories. You want to give them testimonials. You can show them written testimonials. You can show them a testimonial video. You can tell a story. I have a client down the street who joined us and did this. I have a friend of mine who came in the business. He joined. He's making $3,000 a month now in his business. Expressives love to hear third-party stories. They love to hear the details. They love to hear the word pictures. If you can describe things in a word picture, they absolutely love that. Always tell testimonial stories. Show them a list of the people who have just joined your opportunity. Show them your client list. If it doesn't breach confidentiality, say, we helped ABC company down the street to do this. We helped XYZ company down the street to do this. These are all people that own our product or service, and I would recommend that you do too. With expressives, you have to be personable. You have to bond with them. They want a relationship. Again, if you're a relator, now the relator will have a little easier time doing this, but if you're a detailer or a dominator, if you're a dominator selling to an expressive, you do not want to say, hey, listen, let's skip the relationship and get to the bottom line. Now that'll be your tendency, but you see, again, as a dominator or as the detailer, you may say, look, let's just get to the price, get to the details, let's get out of here. You can seem cold and impersonal. If you seem cold and impersonal and don't build a relationship with an expressive, even if your product is lower priced, even if your opportunity sounds fantastic, too good to be true, if the expressive doesn't have a relationship with you, then they won't buy. Expressives really buy from people that they know, like, and trust. So you've got to be personable. You've got to bond with them. You have to tell them stories. You have to ask them questions. This is a good person. This is a very good person to look in the left-hand corner, look in the corner of their office, see the clubs and say, have you been getting out in the links lately? Have you been able to get on the course this year? You see the sailboat. You say, is that your sailboat? What kind of sailboat is it? Have you been sailing a lot? You see pictures of their children. Expressives will have a lot of pictures of their family. People are very important to them. Your dominator, by the way, will have lots of pictures of awards and, the quintessential, deer heads and the animal heads and their trophies. They'll have a big ego wall, the dominators. What expressives will tend to do is they'll tend to have pictures of people. They're all about relationship. They're all about stories. So if you see pictures of a person's family in their office or in their family room or at their house, wherever your sales setting is, when you see those pictures of all people and family, you'll know that they're an expressive, and you'll be able to understand that they want a relationship. They're a people person. Expressives love people, and good for you, they love to buy things. They also like to do business during meals. If you're trying to win a customer over, if you're trying to get repeat business, if you ask the dominator to come out to dinner with you and spend a couple of hours at dinner building a relationship, the dominator won't like it. They'll be like, no, why are you wasting my time? I just want to make I'll give you the order. Now get out of here. I got to move on with my life. But the expressive will love the idea of having a sales call over breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Expressives love to do business during meals. I tell the story in recommendation selling. My national training director and I, Mark Heilshorn, had a prospect who I know has been a client of mine for years, and we were trying to nail him down for a particular an event that we were having, and we couldn't get him to talk to us. And I said to Mark, call Jim up and offer to meet him for breakfast. And he's like, are you kidding me? I can't even get this guy on the phone. How is he going to meet us for breakfast? I said, you leave a message that MJ wants to come down to White Plains and meet him for breakfast some morning and talk to him about the event. And Mark called me back and he said, Jim called me right back. He said, we have an appointment for next Thursday morning for breakfast with Jim. I said, yep, I know. He's like, how did you? I said, because Jim is an expressive. Jim loves to talk. Jim loves to tell stories. And because of that, I knew that he would love to do business during meals. And the idea of meeting us for breakfast was a very, I want to look for the word. It felt very good to him. It was very comfortable for Jim. And he said, yes, let's have a sales call over breakfast. And it was a good sales call. We got a lot accomplished. It took a while. You have to understand with expressives, you may have to spend some time in developing the relationship and telling the stories and listening to their stories. I mean, look, you got to listen to an expressive. As much as you can talk to an expressive, you've also got to listen to the expressive. You also need to understand that expressives are not concerned with facts and figures. They don't necessarily need to see your spec sheets. They don't need to know the ingredients of your product. They don't need to know the details of the 3% bonus on the third level of your compensation plan. For them, you can paint in broad strokes. Hey, in our opportunity, if you get 500 people in it, you can make 10,000 a month. That's all the Expressive needs to know. They don't need to know the intricacies of the comp plan. They don't need to know the ingredients of your skincare product or the ingredients of your weight loss product. They simply want to know, can you tell me about someone that used it? Can you show me a before and after picture? Can you show me a video of someone who's making 10 grand a month? Good enough for me. I'm in. Where do I sign? Okay. Expressives are not concerned with the facts and figures. They don't need a lot of spreadsheets and flow charts and things of that nature. What they simply need is they need the relationship. If you build, this is really the person that when you've heard in sales that you're supposed to buy from, that people will buy from people they know, like, and trust. This is absolutely the Expressive. The Expressive will do this all the time. They will buy from people that they know, like, and trust. Let's talk now about the relator. The relator's negotiating style is what I call a win-win style also. Relators, again, remember what they want most out of life. They want peace and stability. Now, so they want to win and they want you to win. They would never want you to, like the dominator, to beat you or have you lose or have you not make money. I mean, a dominator will be happy to have you sell the product and not make any profit. The relator will actually say to you, are you sure you're making enough profit? Are you making enough on this deal? Are we going to be able to have a relationship? Remember, relators want the relationship. But the thing you need to understand about relators is that they want to buy from you because they're win-win, but they want to take their time getting to know you. And relators, in some instances, it is actually valuable to go back and to whereas the Expressive, you can actually close them on the spot with a one-call close. The relators are going to need to take their time to get to know you. It's not that they don't necessarily trust you, but they want to really get to know you. So if you have an introductory call or the first time that you meet them, it might be good for you to book a second or a third call. For example, if someone is a relator and you're in a selling situation where you're coming there on a continual basis. In my career, I've had relators that I couldn't sell the first 6 months or the first year that I called on them. But as I continued to call on them, as I continued to build the relationship, I was able to win them over because they take their time getting to know you. Now, I don't want it to take 5 years for you to make the sale, but I do want you to understand that you may have to spend a little more time with a relator. The relator, remember, the relator is a little shy. The relator is a little more on the introverted side. And it's not that they don't trust as much as that they just want to get a really good feeling for who you are. And so a second call, setting up a second appointment and coming back, you'll notice that with a relator on the second call, they will be very, very interested in talking with you. That you'll notice the bonding the second or third time that you get together with a person who's a relator. Remember, your relator wants peace and stability. They tend to be on the quiet side. They're a little unorganized, not as unorganized as the Expressive. They'll tend to have a quiet demeanor. They'll tend to be kind and gentle. I'll tell you a little bit more about how to actually identify the relator as we go further into the program. Your negotiating tactics or your buying tactics is you want to show an interest in them personally. Questions and not only questions, but remembering details. These are very good people. Expressives also, by the way, but these are very good people too. If you ask them about their children, if you get some details from them about a favorite hobby or something, it would be a good idea to make some notes, to write something down in your CRM system about their children's names. I remember years ago calling on a customer when I was in the plumbing and the water treatment business, and I called on a gentleman named Ken at his plumbing company, and it was after the weekend. I think it was a Monday, and he was clearly, I know now, he was a relator. And I asked him about, how was the weekend? Just trying to have some salesperson talk. And he said to me, oh, it was a great weekend. He said, my son, Ken Jr., was in a swimming tournament and he won first place. And Ken, I asked a couple questions about the swimming, and Ken told me about Ken Jr. and his swimming. Well, this is really back in the olden days. I went down and wrote it on an index card, and remembered, Ken Jr. and the swimming. Probably about 6 weeks later, as I was going through that territory again, I stopped in to see Ken, and I said, so how's Ken Jr.? I looked at my notes before I went into the call and said, how's Ken Jr. doing with his swimming? Has he had any meets lately? And boy, I'll tell you, Ken, who was a pretty dry kind of person, he could be pretty, he was very, very low key, a real low key relator. He brightened right up and started talking about Ken's successes. It was obviously something he was proud of. I had taken an interest in him personally. I wrote some notes. I remembered his kid's name, his child's name, his successes. I'm telling you, I literally walked away with an order that day and had virtually never sold much of anything to Ken. And I really believe it was because I showed an interest in him personally that he finally said, you know what, I'm going to give MJ an order because he really has taken an interest in me personally. Get to know relators. When you find you have a relator, you're going to have to spend a little time. And to my next slide, you've got to listen and be patient. You have to take your time with them. Again, they need to get to know you. You're going to have to ask some questions. You're going to have to listen. And yes, salespeople, relationship marketers, you're actually going to have to care about the person. You're going to have to care about them. And I mean that sincerely and authentically. Care about the people that you talk to. But it's very important for these people that are relators to have you absolutely to take an interest in them personally. Don't interrupt relators. When relators are talking, it's very important to them to share the information that they're sharing with you, whether it's about business, whether it's about their personal life. Again, you've got to take a sincere interest in them. You can't cut them off and say, okay, let's get down to business. See, if you're a dominator, you're going to be with the relator. You're going to say, I want to really get to the bottom line. If you're the detailer, you're going to say, I really want to, I want to get the facts and figures and get the sale made. If you're the expressive, you'll tend to talk too much to the relator and not listen enough. See, expressives have to tone down their their verbalocity. That's not a word, but I like that. They've got to tone down their verbalocity and let the relator speak. So you've got to ask questions. You've got to tone it down. I know my friend Steve from our local Chamber of Commerce. He's a relator, and he has a very slow, very measured way of speaking. And if I call the chamber up and I'll say, hey, Steve, it's MJ. Wanted to talk to you about doing that seminar for the chamber. And he'll say, hello, MJ. It's good to hear from you. How are things going? How's the family? How's this? And I'm like, hey, let's get this project on the books. Let's get this on the calendar. And Steve wants to talk, and he's very measured. And so for me to continue to blah, 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 blather on to Steve and to be excited and to be so expressive, I need to tone it down a little bit. So when I call up the chamber and I say, hey, Steve, it's MJ. And he says, hello, MJ. How are you? I then tone it down a little bit and I say, hey, Steve, I'm doing really well. How you doing? So I adjust even my speed and my speaking to come more into sync with my prospect who is a relator. Now, if someone's booming over the phone to you, hey, MJ, glad you called. Hey, what do you want? Or I heard about you. And then you want to come back at this with the same way. But remember, even on the phone, the way a person answers their phone can tell you, okay, what their personality is. Your dominator speaks in clip sentences, picks up the phone. MJ Durkin. If you call my office, you catch me in my dominator mode, that's what you'll hear. MJ. Now, if you go, hi, MJ, how was your weekend? That's not a good way. That's going to create disrapport with me. Okay. Now, if I'm in my expressive mode and it's Friday afternoon, I just made a big sale, I might answer the phone like, MJ Durkin. That's a perfect time to say, hey, MJ, how's it going? What's happening? You excited? Tell me a story. What happened this past week? What happened this weekend? You ready for the weekend? So you want to learn how to get in sync and get into the same pattern, the same way of speaking. I don't want you to mimic people. I don't want you to mirror them so much that they say, are you making fun of me? What I simply want you to do with a relator is to listen to them and to get on the same wavelength. If you need to tone it down a little bit, tone it down. If you're a detailer and you're cold and impersonal, you like the facts and figures, you might need to warm up a little bit. You might need to tell a little story about, your pets or your family. Make yourself a little more personable to the relator. Trust and loyalty are very, very important to relators. Relators will slowly give you their trust. They will slowly give you their trust, but once you have it, they will stay good customers or good distributors or reps or consultants. They'll hang in there forever with you once they've developed trust and confidence in you. Their loyalty is unparalleled. Remember, relators are the backbones of industry. They are very kind and gentle people, and they're great. They're great people at getting things done and staying the course and being very consistent. Trust and loyalty are very important to them, which, by the way, if you're selling to them in some type of a repeat type of basis, they don't change vendors very easily. And this can be somewhat of a frustrating thing. And an Expressive, if they really like you, they'll throw the other guy out in a second and bring your product line in or your service in. A relator is going to take some more time. This is why you're going to have to build the relationship, and you may have to make multiple visits and make multiple calls on a relator because they already have the trust and the belief and the confidence in someone else, and they're just not going to throw the other vendor out. So again, you're going to have to realize it might be a little, like like Chinese water torture. You may have to drip on them one drip at a time. If you've ever heard of dripping on a prospect, this could be the prospect that's not really ready to make a decision, but you need to stay in touch with them through email, a phone call once in a while, a personal visit. Keep building that relationship, and eventually you'll be able to make the sale and bring them into a new place. So remember with relators that you've got to get into their world by being like them, which usually means that you've got to ask them questions about themselves. You have to be concerned about them. You have to show an interest in them personally, and you need to listen to them and to be very, very patient as you build the relationship. As you might imagine, a relator is very concerned about the relationship.